exceptions are granted. Now, as I read this ordinance, this is going to directly impact my real estate values in a major way. You're telling me right now that without being able to have my association, Liberty Greens Association, hire a lawyer, tonight's hearing will decide the wording of this ordinance. Is that correct? Is that what I understand?
Yes.
That's unfair.
And that's why.
And I'll remember that when we vote.
Good.
Now I'd like to directly address section 95-20.2. And I understand that our questions are going to be answered en masse at the end, and I've been watching, and it doesn't appear that anyone's taking notes.
Not watching me. Not watching
Who's
Mr.
taking
Phillips.
notes?
Mr. Phillips.
No, no, I'm not then. I apologize. Please take good notes of what I'm about to say, because this is apparently the only chance I get to influence the place I've been living in for 35 years and whatever it may or may not be worth. It seems to me that there's a perception that townhouse residents are somewhat lower class citizens who don't make the income or have the job to live in single family homes. That is not true. There are many of us who choose to live that way because we're single, we're a retired couple, we're a young couple just starting out. And Liberty Greens has always been a relatively high-end development with nice people in it. You're going to change that on 4 days' notice. Now, as to section 95-20.2, you apparently consider it one affordable housing zone of two kinds: market rate townhouses and what are called multiple family affordable rental units. But you don't divide the zone in any way, and Don Felker, I believe, alluded to that. I see no reason at all why 27.5 acres need to be one lot for one zone. Liberty Greens, as I said, is a fairly high-end development. It always has been. The far end of the block 8801, the northeast corner of it, abuts a college power plant, a college library, and a college parking lot. Now, why can't the affordable housing units be put down there, and why can't that be in the ordinance? Why does it have to be 50 feet from my back fence? Can you rewrite this ordinance before June 15th to satisfy that?
Well, anything is possible.
Not will you, can you?
I just answered.
Mr. Mayor, will you and can? I'm sure you can. Will you? Or is this it? Is this? I mean, I might as well sit down if there's no chance to influence this.
We're not going to answer that now. We're waiting until you do your summary.
Whatever's your pleasure. So,
All right. Please, we're doing it.
So it's an inclusionary housing zone, which is typically on a single lot. And a developer basically has to provide for both the market rate units and the affordable.
You're not answering my question.
Yes,
That's
I-
gobbledygook. The question is, can we change this ordinance tonight before June 15th?
I would
I'm not gonna-
appreciate, Peter, if you
not gonna
didn't slam on your
give you
counter
every
there.
courtesy
Please,
you need to
listen
give
and
me
have
every
some
courtesy.
respect for him like we do for you, sir.
I apologize.
Thank you.
We only just
4
got the
days is what
notice.
kind of respect?
Go. Go ahead.
So I'm trying to answer all the questions that you.
There's only one question.
Well,
Can
like-
you change the ordinance?
We
or
can do
we-
anything that this governing body directs me to do, but I'm trying to answer your question, and I'm trying to give both the public and the governing body information about what went into the zone and the difference between zoning issues and site plan issues. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to basically educate the public as best that I can, and you can believe me or not believe me, and put the governing body in the best position to move forward. So please just let me answer. You may not like the answer, but let me answer the question as best I can.
Please.
I believe that from a zoning perspective, as an inclusionary development, and not having detailed information about the site's physical conditions, and we know that the site has some wetlands and we know it has some slopes, but there hasn't been extensive analysis on the site. Having said that all the issues that were raised by you and one of the gentlemen before you about where things should go, we can't micromanage that when we don't have information, full information about the site or the development proposal at this point. I understand your concern about the location of the affordable units. And all I can tell you is that before an initial plan that was done by the property owner, by the way, we were approached by the property owner, the Sisters of Charity, saying this is available surplus land that we can help you build and meet your affordable housing obligation. And by the way, they did the same thing in Florham Park. And by the way, in Florham Park, they got a higher density on their excess lands in Florham Park than we fought for here. And by the way, they came in with a higher density here, that we fought them back down to give them nothing greater than the density and the standards that are on the zone in which your property is located. We were looking out for the public interest when we basically negotiated this zoning. And I know that's not going to make you happy, but I will say that in a preliminary concept that they had, which included multifamily apartments that were not affordable, they didn't have all market rate townhouses in their initial plan, and we rejected it. We said density is the density on your project at Liberty Greens, no more than that. And ultimately, the affordable units in the initial concept were at the far end of the site away from Liberty Green. But I would be reluctant to mandate those specifics in a zoning ordinance. To me, there's site plan issues, and I think the planning board has the right, when a developer comes in with a plan, to basically say, we'd like to see those units there for X, Y, Z reasons. But at the zoning stage, without all the information needed, I would be reluctant, and I would advise my client against putting that in the zoning ordinance without full information. And I hope I answered your question. It may not make you happy, but that's kind of where we came at this from.
My question is simply, can you change this ordinance? Or are you going to enact it as it's written now, no matter what we say?
That's up to what the governing body decides
That's
to
all
do.
you had to answer. So I'll make some comments. I think that
Peter, you got 1 more minute.
that's not fair, Peter.
We got 4 days.
There's a lot of people who want to speak. We said 5 minutes, you've been here for 10.
We got time. We have time. We waited long enough.
Does anyone object to me going
No.
on?
When they get elected,
Don't worry, guys.
Do I have-
please, why don't you all listen and stop being emotional about it? Peter,
Come on.
Peter,
Wow.
Speak, please.
speak.
I'd like to speak, but you're not letting me.
I said.
You've given me 1 minute.
emotional.
I am emotional because my property values
let
are
him
threatened
speak.
by this. Again, I've been a lawyer for a long time. There's a lot of vagueness in this ordinance. And none of the affordable rental units, that's section D4, D parentheses 4, shall exceed 3 stories and 45 feet in height. None of them shall be located less than 75 feet from any tract boundary line. That's my property. But it also says that there shall be formal recreation facilities. Are formal recreation facilities allowed within 75 feet of the property line? That's a question. I think it should be addressed. It's somewhat vague. It talks about